Hey folks, Colton Woods here, and I've got a 5-year-old warm blood Ella who is super excited to be in class this morning. And this is another video. It's part of our Liberty series, and this is a great groundwork exercise whether you're teaching the Liberty or not. It's crucial for the Liberty program that we know and teach, but also I really like this because when we think about advancing our horses, we put pressure on our horses, and of course we put it in a way to where they already know how to cope with it, but sometimes they have to work through a new exercise, something that's framed up a little bit differently. And in this exercise, our horses actually learn to come into pressure and understand that when they move up into pressure that it's actually a release. If you think about going and showing horses in a competition, or maybe even going to a new environment, there's pressure there that we put on ourselves that we may not really realize, and our horses inadvertently have to be the ones that know how to handle that. So with our Liberty horses, this is also a drawing exercise. Liberty horses have to have a lot of draw coming towards you, and actually in order for us to get them to come towards us, we have to put pressure on a horse that is loose. So if a horse is loose and they're a long ways off, maybe initially they're only going to be a few feet away, but later on they could be a couple hundred feet away, and we would do a cue that would have pressure behind it that says, hey, you know what this means. If not, we'll add a little bit of pressure from maybe 100 feet away, and they know to come towards that pressure. So it's a really neat mental exercise to teach our horses how to thrive under pressure, and it's a great exercise to show folks, or show our horses as well, how to move into pressure and how to find the release. And so I've found it really creates some confidence on our horses. And this is Ella. Like I said, she's a 5-year-old warm blood mare, and she's never done this. So a lot of times we'll show you guys videos with horses that already know how to do this, but we already had her out here. And so we're gonna go ahead. I'm in our round pen here. It's about 50 foot around. I've done this a lot of times with horses in an indoor arena. The biggest thing is that you need a solid wall to go around to be able to follow. And so I've got her on a 14-foot lead here, and I've got just a basic lunge whip. You can use a lunge whip or a carriage whip. And so I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through this exercise, and it's going to have kind of two parts to it. We're going to be working on the draw towards us and also working on a stop cue. Stop cues are super important for Liberty horses because we don't have reins, we don't have a halter on them. We need to be able to stop our horses. So this is a way to teach your horses to work on their draw towards you, as well as to integrate a stop cue into that. So I'm going to take Ella over here against the wall, and we're going to I'm going to do my best. I won't get right up underneath the camera for you guys, but we're going to use the vast majority of this round pen. And so here I'm going to raise this lunge whip, and I'm just going to ask her to step close to the wall there. So you guys notice that she's pretty sensitive to the whip. We've done a lot of groundwork exercises and hand work with her that would make her responsive to a whip and understanding how that works. So what I'm going to do is, the big key with this is when you draw your horses to you right now, you need to kind of move away. Otherwise, you're going to teach them to run on top of you. And so I'm going to take this lunge whip. I'm going to come out from the side and towards her hindquarters. And as she starts walking forward, I'm going to start stepping back. And then I'm going to raise this cue. And now their heads might come up. I'll lower that whip to push those shoulders back. And I'm going to raise this whip back up. Now this whip coming up is the stop cue. Right? Now she's a little uncertain. We haven't done it this way with her, and so she's never done this particular exercise. And so as she gets up here, I'll rub on her, and I'm going to start making a little more room between her and I, me and myself and the fence, so that she can come up, because I'd really like for her to stop to where I'm right here next to her shoulder. And so I'll go ahead, lower this whip down, let her step up. I'll stop my feet, raise the whip up. Now, it's all good. We got to do both sides on your horses. So I'm going to do this a little bit more on this way. I'm going to lower the whip down. Bumper, she didn't go. I expect the horses to be fairly prompt. Raise the whip up. She stopped. That was pretty darn good. I'm really impressed with that. Now she's also reading off my feet. So there's several sequences, but the first one is that we're going to take that whip, lower it I'm gonna stop my feet and raise the whip at the same time, because she understands when I stop my feet that she should stop her feet. But she may not know exactly about this whip. So it might look like, oh, she knows what the stop cue is. Well, she's also reading my body posture. So the important part with horse training is that we separate a lot of these things and do them individually. We do things to help our horses, like I wouldn't just not stop my feet and throw the whip up in the air and expect her to know it, because she has no idea what that means. But I'll position myself, so I'm gonna raise the whip towards her hindquarters, ask her to step back towards the fence. There she goes. Whoop. So here, I kept moving my feet back. I put the stop cue up, I put the whip up, but I kept stepping back, which could have kept drawing her towards me, but she did really good. She stopped right where she was. So, I went up and rubbed on her. Now you see that she kind of went to tip her weight towards me. She went to lean forward and she would have taken a step. I just kind of jiggled this whip, and you can see she's like, oh, that's pressure. Right? This is pressure towards her. Like if I go like this towards her head, she's gonna back away. But now I'm gonna look at her hindquarters, I'm gonna lower this whip down, I'll cluck to her, and then here I'll raise the whip, and I'll keep stepping back. Now we're building separation into the stop cue, because I put the whip up, and the whip is what told her to stop, because my feet kept going. She could have kept following me. So I'll walk back up to her shoulder, rub her here, and now I'm going to drop the tail of this lunge whip down, because I'm not going to cluck to her this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this whip, ask her to come, there, raise the whip up, pretty dang good. So there, I didn't crack the whip, I just kind of, I was really, and if you're not accurate with the lunge whip, go through the grass, find clovers, and just get really good at cracking particular blades of grass or whatever you want to aim at, because you don't want to just randomly flail this whip around in the air and expect your horse to move where you want him to move. Watch when I do that this time. I'm going to step back, I'm going to lower the whip down, she doesn't move. I go past behind her hindquarters to help drive her forward. Ooh. There I kind of integrated a little bit of a verbal cue with the word whoa. And so verbal cues with this, having the physical visible cue for them to be able to see it, is all super helpful, because ultimately they'd be doing this liberty work without anything on them. So all the aids that we have to be able to help them, certainly helpful. So now I'm going to lengthen this rope just a little bit. So I'm going to step further out. I'm going to drop this whip down. She's there, she's starting to move. And so here, some horses, I'll stop moving my feet. Ooh. So there, I'm gonna let her go past. And then ooh. That's very usual for your horses. They might blow past you. She doesn't really like blow past, but she did walk past me. I let her move past me. I just turned around, put pressure out in front of her, made her make the turn back, and got her right back to where I needed her to be, which was against the fence. And so you guys will notice though that when I talk about moving into pressure, it is the concept that I'm putting pressure behind her with this lunge whip, and her moving up into it, moving towards me. Because yeah, I have the pressure, but a lot of horses will try to back out, they'll go sideways. Raise my whip up. I'm gonna give her that extra lead rope again so I can step back. And early on, a walk is okay, and then we'd eventually like to ask them to trot. So I raise that whip down. She should be moving. I drop the whip down. This is like the foot going on the gas. I just tapped her in behind. As she starts moving, I'll stop moving my feet. Ooh. Your horses know not to run you over, so sometimes they'll stop a little further away because they know that they shouldn't be moving right up on top of you. And so we all have to be considerate for what they know, and then helping them separate what this means. Whip comes down, so that was a lot better. Ooh. Ooh. So here I just reached out and rubbed her and tried to help her find the place where she could stop. Before, she felt like she kind of had to creep past me. So I raise my whip back up. As a stop cue, I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna drop this whip down. Ooh. I just asked for one more step because I'd really like her to be right here against my shoulder. And so early on, they don't need to be trotting to you super fast, but we'll get there. We want our horses to be confident that they can move up into this types of pressure here. There, that was better. Raise the whip up. I'll lower it down just a little bit to help her get that extra step. There she goes. But you can tell that this whip is very much, it's like a gas pedal. And so I've popped it a few times just to make some pressure and some noise about it. But I'm not really too big on getting wild and crazy with that, because that's all kinds of pressure that I want to be able to channel later on when our horses better understand it, because then you can really get some powerful draw where your horses will gallop up to you or run up to you when they see that this cue is coming into place. Early on, it can just really freak them out because they don't understand what needs to be done. So here I'll step back, give me that whip cue up. She went to creep forward, let her settle. And even in moments like that, you know, where I was gonna go ahead and ask her to, there's nothing out there. When I was gonna ask her to step towards me and I put the whip cue up, I went ahead and went back up to rubber just to let her know, like, hey, yeah, you did all right. Ooh. And so I've got a little extra space between me and her and the fence, so she feels like she has somewhere to go versus her feeling like she's trapped, because then they get to sucking back. Ooh. So there she went past me. Let your horses make the mistakes. If you don't let them make the mistake, like, I can prevent her from running past me, but if you don't let her make the mistake, then she doesn't understand that sometimes they'll hang on to those wondering, oh, can I try that? Let them try it, and let them find out that it's a little more work than what they are actually beckoning for. And that way it'll make what you're asking that much stronger. I'm gonna ask her to trot, so I'll kind of jog back. Ooh, pretty good. So guys, that's one side of her, and it doesn't have to last too long. Like, you don't have to work on this stuff and drill and drill and drill and drill. Just slowly integrate it like any other exercise. We want our horses to be confident and quiet and comfortable doing it. And I think it's a really neat exercise. It really helps develop some draw in your horses. A lot of horses naturally have draw. You have horses that'll just come right off the fence and they'll run up to you. This particular mare, she has a little bit of draw, but she's also fairly independent. So keeping your horse on the halter is super helpful. And for folks that don't have a round pen, this is a really great way to start developing draw with your horse without needing to be able to have a place where you have to turn them loose. Because I actually find out that horses that don't have as much draw, you need to keep them on the halter a little bit more so you can help do exercises like this to help develop the draw, versus horses that do have a lot of draw, more apt to take the halter off. not to let them loose, and do a very similar exercise to that, just with them actually being loose. So guys, that's a little drawing exercise to work with your horses. We've had a lot of great success with it. It really helps out with these Liberty horses. So be sure, if you're in the process of watching our Liberty training videos, be sure to integrate this into your program. If you guys have any questions about it, be sure to put them in the comments below, send us a message, and guys, don't forget, work both sides of your horse. We just did our left side here. We've got to do our right side as well, but it's the same exact process on the other side. For the sake of time, so that you guys can get back to the barn and keep working with your horses, we're going to go ahead and cut it there. But guys, be sure to do the same thing on both sides. So this is Colton with Colton's Horsemanship. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to riding with you guys in the clinic or working with you guys in the Liberty Clinic in the future. Y'all take care.